are the highest paid state employees, university football coaches. We look at the game of contracts and money as one heads out and another is hired at CU. Meanwhile, a lot of taxpayer money was spent to find a new top boss for Denver Public Schools. We're going to tackle that too. We also have marijuana and booze. As topics of stories, of course, we've got kind cops, some possible new rules for those scooters you see everywhere, and a remarkable woman who made teaching history in Denver. Stick around. You're going to learn something because we're next. The University of Colorado has a new football coach on the payroll. The University of Colorado also has an old football coach on the payroll. Both are set to make millions at the same time. You can't call CU alum Marshall Zellinger biased as he looks into the finances of paying two coaches at the same time.
This will be Colorado's next highest paid state employee once CU Regents approved the 5-year, nearly $15 million contract for University of Georgia defensive coordinator Mel Tucker to become CU's next football coach. He'll make $2.4 million next year. Meanwhile, recently fired CU head coach Mike McIntyre will make more, $2.95 million to not coach.
None of that will be taxpayer money or student tuition money.
CU spokesman Ken McConaughey sat down with me to discuss why CU pays coaches not to coach.
Unfortunately, it's the market that has been created out there.
Here's a quick snapshot of CU's $91 million athletics budget. None of it is taxpayer money. The largest chunk, $31 million, is just from being in the Pac-12. Anytime a Pac-12 team makes a bowl game, CU gets paid. Anytime Pac-12 is on TV, CU gets paid. Ticket sales make up $20 million. $10 million is fundraising, asking alums and donors to help fund sports.
You know, it's not an unusual model at universities that we ask donors to help support a variety of things, including salaries, and that's not limited to athletics by any means. That's across the university.
He pointed out two examples on the education side. Former NASA chief technologist Bobby Braun and Dr. Valeria Canto-Solar. Braun makes nearly $500,000 to be dean of CU's College of Engineering and Applied Science and the Smead Chair of Space Technology. The Smead Endowment is a donor fund and helps cover a portion of his salary. Donors also help pay Dr. Solar's salary. She was recruited to work on CU's Anschutz campus.
One of the foremost experts in the world on retinas and macular degeneration from Johns Hopkins.
So what does taxpayer money pay for? It covers professor and faculty salaries, operations, electric bills, turning the lights on, insurance. But state funding is just a small fraction of any university funding, and at CU, I believe it's about 6% of the entire university funding right now. So
really interesting breakdown of that money there, Marshall. Just goes to show you how much money there is in college football.
Now, if we could transfer some of that to the education side?
Yeah. That'd be a good idea. Thank you. It's almost over. After nearly 4 months of looking across the country, Denver Public Schools is about to finally name its new superintendent. The school board has named one finalist who happens to be right here in Denver and who also happens to be a school official. Of course, some people have called this whole search to find someone new a sham. This afternoon, I worked with our 9 Wants to Know team to take a look. This is the one finalist.
You know, I'm incredibly grateful to be in this position right now.
Susanna Cordova is the current deputy superintendent. She's a DPS graduate and has worked as a teacher and principal in the district. But if she's been in Denver all along, how much has the district spent to find a new superintendent? Here's what we know. DPS spent more than $161,000 on the search. That's more than Douglas County and Boulder Valley and Jefferson County and Cherry Creek School Districts spent combined when they looked for their own superintendents. There's also a conflict of interest question surrounding Susanna Cordova. Her husband, Eric Duran, is a senior vice president at an investment firm called D.A. Davidson. The firm is known nationally for financing charter schools. When we asked School Board Vice President Barbara O'Brien about this last week, she responded.
There's no conflict of interest, and we double-checked that there wasn't. It's been 10 years since Eric's firm did any business with DPS, and that was with a charter school.
But yesterday, D.A. Davidson sent us an email contradicting that so-called double-checking. The firm admits that 3 times within the past 10 years, they've helped fund charter schools within DPS. $37 million worth of bonds for Monarch Montessori and $8 million for Highline Academy. DPS still insists there is no conflict. reminding us under state law that the district and its leadership do not influence the financing decisions by independent charter schools. If Cordova is confirmed as superintendent on December 17th, DA Davidson has promised not to conduct business with DPS or any charter schools in the district. So if you think this whole search is unusually full of turmoil, remember, History 101 tells us what's old is news again. 35 years ago, DPS was looking for a new superintendent. The headline, minorities miffed at DPS selection. And then, 3 years later, they were back looking for a new one again. $50,000 to find school chief for Denver, Irk's black leader, who said something is wrong when the school district doesn't have money to give teachers raises, but has $30,000 to $50,000 to find a superintendent. Fast forward, and today, $161,000 spent on a search while teachers are still trying to get a raise. A state senator criticized for having likely used a private women-only restroom at the Capitol is resigning. Daniel Kagan's last day will be January 11th, about a week into the 2019 legislative session. In a statement released this afternoon, Kagan says it has been a great honor to serve the people of Colorado for just short of a decade. The Democrat from Cherry Hills Village has not been accused of inappropriate behavior beyond using the women's bathroom. We've been talking about Denver's plans to delete low-level marijuana convictions from the records of thousands of people. After all, now that weed is legal, why not? But what happens when someone does have that on their record? Katie Eastman shows us.
The job search for Kenneth Sims begins here.
See, right away, I got job alerts here.
At the Workforce Center in Denver.
Right now, I'm just looking for forklift.
Looking for a job isn't always easy, and the people here help him.
I don't know. I think it's a good resume.
The 53-year-old says he's never had a problem finding construction work, but a background check can be a barrier for other jobs.
They're concerned about that.
In 1999 and 2000, he was charged with possession of a controlled substance, both misdemeanors. He says it was marijuana.
Because in the past, I would use marijuana to medicate myself.
Out of the 25,758 people that Denver Workforce Services helps, 1,400 of them, or 5.5%, say a criminal record is a barrier to getting a job. So when Denver Mayor Michael Hancock announced plans to expunge misdemeanor marijuana convictions from before it was legalized, the director was excited.
And it is incredibly limiting when you have that particular blemish on your background. So the fact that, thousands of folks could see that erased from their background will absolutely open a ton of new doors in a ton of new occupations and industries right now.
And I found something on Indeed.
But those convictions had to happen in Denver in order for them to be vacated, which means Kenneth won't qualify. He was charged in Iowa. Still, he's hopeful this will help employers take a closer look at the person and not their record.
Because then that way employers can't, exclude you.
For Next, I'm Katie Eastman.
Boulder County also has a plan to vacate and seal about 4,000 previous pot convictions. In Denver, it's around 10,000 cases. If you've been through downtown lately, you'll notice people on scooters zooming around all over the place. I'm one of them. Today we got word the city may be coming up with new rules for those dockless scooters around town. 2 city councilors in Public Works are coming up with these new rules. The first thing would be users would be required to ride in a bike lane if a bike lane is available. If not, they could ride in the street just as long as the speed limit is 30 miles per hour or less. Otherwise, they need to ride on a sidewalk, but only at 6 miles per hour or less. The changes will be discussed at next Tuesday's City Council meeting. While Kyle's been gone, I've been given clearance to do my own thing, so here we go. I like random things, I like Denver, I like history. Tonight, we continue with Random Denver History. This blurb, printed on December 5th, 1918 in the Rocky Mountain News exactly 100 years ago today, it caught my eye. It describes a very swift case of justice after a local sheriff saw a man breaking the law. The sheriff saw a man give a swig of whiskey to a minor in an alleyway up in Longmont. That man was arrested, pleaded guilty, jailed, and fined $100. The sheriff said this fast act of justice occurred within 1 hour and 15 minutes between the drink and his sentence. There's no way that would happen today. And this is how things looked back then near that time frame. This is a photo of a saloon in North Denver in the early 1900s. Take a look at that. Thanks to Colorado History for this photo. 2 years after that man was busted for giving that kid a drink, the Prohibition era began, and it would last 13 years. In fact, today is the day that it ended 85 years ago. Some of you may raise your glasses to that. Of course, though, please don't give any swigs of whiskey to minors. That is still illegal. First tenured African-American teacher in Denver tells us what it was like back then.
Oh, the racism?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Was there?
Yeah, oh, yes, definitely, definitely.
Police officers routinely meet people on the worst days of their lives and then make it better. And Colorado is waving back in this photograph. We'll explain next.
Often we fall into this, there's this side and there's this side. Well, you know what? Sometimes this side isn't telling the truth, and we should be saying that. It's important to hear things you don't agree with because it is the single best way to test your own beliefs. It's a sign of thoughtfulness to hear a perspective that you disagree with and to say, you know what? I hadn't considered that. That's a really good point. I want to give you a fresh perspective, something that you haven't thought of. It doesn't matter if you agree. It just matters that we listen to each other.
From Maine to Maui, thousands of high school students across the country are getting in on the action by volunteering in their communities.
It's great helping others, and it feels good too. Are you in? Whoa!
Anyone can do it. All it takes is a little time. Are you in?
Action teams of high school students are joining Volunteers of America and Major League Baseball players to help train and inspire the next generation of volunteers.
It's easy to start an action team at your school, so you too can get in on the action.
Are you in? Get in on the action at actionteam.org.
These girls are too much.
Can I have your attention, everyone? That depends. Are you a cat video? Too funny. Here's your fish of the day. That day is last Monday. Too wild. Together. Caroline's got a date tonight. It's not a joke. I'm really going on a date. Stop it. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna pee.
Two Broke Girls.
5 nights a week on Channel 20.
From the sidelines to the front office, get the inside story from the ultimate insider. Broncos Sideline Stories with Jim Sacamano. Saturday nights at 9:30 on Channel 20.
The most Colorado thing we saw today is a photograph taken at just the right angle at just the right time. Check it out. This is by photographer Jared Ditmick. It looks like nature's version of the Colorado state flag. You can see the Red Sea there, right there in the middle of the sun there. Jared took this picture in Coal Creek Canyon just a few days ago. Send your most Colorado pictures to next@9news.com or get our attention with the hashtag HeyNext.
So beautiful, so cool. Right now I am tracking a storm system moving into the state. We've been watching snowfall off and on up in the high country throughout the day, and now the heaviest snow sitting in parts of Wyoming. Now late tonight I would not be surprised if we do find a few flurries, mainly on the western side of town, the western suburbs up through the foothills. A little bit of light snowfall coming our way. Accumulation doesn't look like much, and overall everyone looking at mostly cloudy skies. Temperatures cooling off to about 15 tonight. That snow less than an inch for places like Fort Collins over through Boulder, maybe an inch or two up in the foothills. Futurecast painting a pretty good picture around 2 in the morning of the snow coming through Larimer and Boulder counties, but by 7 a.m. you're hopping in the car, off to work or school you go. You should be just fine. The wet weather moves out, partly cloudy skies move in, but we will be watching another storm toward the San Juans that arrives tomorrow afternoon. Here in the metro area, it's going to be a cold one. Find the warm winter coat. 30 degrees on tap for our Thursday. Upper 20s and 30s up in the mountains. We slowly but surely continue to climb time. Few early morning flurries on Friday morning with 40s and sunshine here for the weekend.
Right on, Danielle. Thank you. Time for our shameless, the more you should know ripoff. You should probably know this. There is a science to crunching huge amounts of data and turning it into a visual map to show that data. It's called GIS, or Geographic Information Systems. The city and county of Denver does a lot of it, and today they put some of their work on display. They called today GIS Day. City departments showed how they can take things like crime stats, property values, and traffic congestion and put them on a map that will help them find solutions to problems. Just to show you how open-minded their specialists are, they mapped out a few conspiracy theories at the airport. That secret tunnel will be a big story if it's ever found out, by the way. Denver says it's just trying to give some attention to a field they believe is growing in both need and usefulness.
It's a fantastic way for us to see the power of turning the data into something that's information and ultimately knowledge.
The city says the reason GIS is growing so fast is because of all the sensors out there. Those sensors are in your car, your phone, your dockless scooter. They're on the street lights and traffic signals. Great information if you know how to collect it and use it. And we'll be right back.
I really didn't feel safe anymore at home.
Sometimes I wouldn't eat. It was like this hunger pain in your stomach.
It was just so lonely. I just felt like I was not important to anyone.
I never thought homelessness could happen to someone like me.
I remember coming here and I felt comfort, I felt safe.
Graduating to valedictorian, getting a job, keeping the job, it's just a good feeling.
Because I've completely turned my life around and made it into what I've always wanted it to be. There's people out there who can help. There's people out there who care, and things can get better.
If you call 1-800-RUNAWAY, you will get connected to the help you need.
Like lightning on the Great Plains, a spark ignites the imagination of a young 4-H member named Ryan. As a teenager, Ryan explores the wonders of nature. As a young man, he experiments, discovering new possibilities. As a scientist, Ryan uses a new technology to detect an invisible tumor in a little girl's eye. The 4-H commitment of fostering 1 million new scientists and engineers is being embraced by companies and universities around the country. With their help, 4-H is growing the next generation of great thinkers like Ryan. 4-H, 1 million new scientists, 1 million new ideas.
Hey, Denver, what happens when the most daring team in daytime takes on trending stories live? Anything and everything.
I am pro-sex workers. You're crazy. I said it.
You are totally off base here. I can't believe I'm saying this. I do agree with you. Denver, join the live conversation.
With the DBL Nation.
Daily Blast Live, the talk of what's trending. Weekdays at 1 on 9 News.
Teddy, nighty, bong, bong, bong.
Join the party 5 nights a week on Channel 20.
All right, I think this is my favorite story of the night. She made history by becoming the first permanent African-American teacher in Denver. She lived through both world wars. Marie Greenwood just turned 106 years old. And our Anusha Roy says she's the kind of person you'll want to sit down and listen to.
As Denver morphed over the better part of a century,
106 years old.
Marie Louise Greenwood did something few have.
You better go back and do it again when I always said 90.
She witnessed it herself.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
And while she watched history,
I remember World War I.
And lived through wars that shaped the world, Greenwood found herself searching for a job during the Depression and again did something few can say they have.
In 1938, I became the first tenured African-American teacher in Denver. There were many things I could not do. There were many activities I could not attend because of my color. That didn't make any difference to me because I had a job.
Greenwood eventually became the first African-American teacher at an all-white school in 1955.
When I made my tenure, it did open it up. They hired 2 more, and it went from there and expanded. It even went from Whittier School to Cole Junior High School to Manual. Oh, my.
What she started decades ago, Denver Public Schools is still working on to diversify their teachers for the sake of the students.
At 106, you're still sharp, you're beautiful, you like to, yes?
You want to know why?
Yeah.
Only by the grace of God. I'm a born optimist, too.
For Next, I'm Anusha Roy.
See what optimism can do to you? What a remarkable woman. How awesome. Marie Greenwood spent 30 years teaching in Denver. There's a school named after her in Montbello where the kids there are still learning about her. Gosh, what great advice there. This next story isn't about a police officer in trouble, a teacher who got caught cheating, or a nurse stealing drugs. No, this next story is about public servants doing the right thing. You know, like 99% of them do every day and never make the news. They are the good ones, and they're almost always good ones. 17 Denver police officers were recognized today for demonstrating kindness and compassion. From befriending and caring for the elderly to doing yard work and buying school supplies and Christmas gifts for people, these officers are making a difference. Then there's technician Amy Eston. She used her own money to buy a plane ticket for a domestic violence victim, trying to get to her children who were in protective custody in Atlanta. If you watch TV with an antenna or converter box, you're going to need to rescan your channels this Friday. We're tinkering with our over-the-air signal. Rescanning is actually easy. On Friday, grab your remote and press menu, select setup or settings, then choose auto tune or auto scan, depending on your TV. Wait for the scan to finish, then you'll be able to keep watching 9 News and your other favorite shows. If you watch this on cable or satellite, this does not affect you, but it does if you have an antenna. Be sure to wait till this Friday to rescan. We'll have more information at 9news.com. An old sign we showed you here on Next a few weeks ago has a new makeover. That and your feedback next.
Which one of you is horny? How did I get here? My mom was horrible and drove me to drink, which led to drugs. Remember me? But I cleaned up my act. Wish I hadn't spit in his latte. For that glamorous... You look like a slutty highlighter. Single mom life. Why aren't you wearing pants? I was relaxing. And now I'm back here, living with my mom.
That changes everything. You deserve a cupcake.
5 nights a week on Channel 20.
Broncos tonight, Sunday nights at 10:35 on 9 News.
Get to know the Johnsons 5 nights a week.
How about I give you $100?
No, 200. And you agree not to have any more children.
Okay, that's a decision I have. No, no.
A traditional family.
I'm here to help.
You're not Mom.
Where's Mom?
And an unconventional comedy.
I think you look good for your age, Dad.
40's not bad, right?
You're only 40? Good Lord, you've lived a hard life.
Weekdays starting at 5 p.m. on Channel 20.
I aspire to be a writer. New York Times bestseller is the dream.
My dream is to become a marine biologist and to work hands-on with animals. I dream to travel around the world and be an influential speaker. I want to be a businesswoman or a doctor.
My goals and aspirations are to make a difference.
My dream is to be an Air Force pilot.
I want to go to med school and I want to be a trauma surgeon.
I always ask my family for world peace for Christmas.
We are Broncos.
I'm a Broncos fan because we got the best team in the NFL.
My whole life I've been a Broncos fan.
Denver till we die. We bring the thunder. Bronco fans are the best.
It's probably the most exciting thing that you could ever feel.
We're the best team in the league, obviously. We got the best fans. The whole stadium shakes and everybody's jumping around and rooting and hollering. There's nothing like this crowd.
Broncos fans will always stay loyal.
We're looking forward to another Super Bowl win.
This is Bronco country.
We bleed orange and blue.
There have been frightening things in the news lately, familiar things for many Coloradans. Check in with your family and friends. If you or someone you know needs mental health support or emotional help, it's available right this second. A real person ready to provide real problem solving. Call or text Colorado Crisis Services. Let's take care of ourselves and each other.
It's a sign, and it's the law. This is an update to a sign we showed you last month. It's along Arapahoe Road near Spruce. It faded so much that it could convey the opposite of the intended message, as if it's the law to have a martini before swerving down the road. A next viewer named Noel drives it by this sign every day. They notice the sign has been replaced with a new one, red paint and all. Send pictures of the odd signs you see to next@9news.com. Thank you all for sticking around. I will be back mañana. See you next.